We love hip hop.
Something about the homeless.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so let me pull up this courtesy of Straight Out the Six. It was from a day ago. Okay, so let me go back to Instagram. There was this lady, and I had a conversation about homeless people last week when Doug Ford was like, "Get off your ASS and get a damn job." And
Oh, yeah. I did.
so this woman says, an indigenous woman wants to know why so many of her people are homeless, why Canada is their country on Nation's Truth and Reconciliation Day, right? Which was a day ago, right? Every child matters. Make sure y'all support, man, because you've been a bad country, bro. So let's let her cook here.
This is our country, and yet we're homeless. So many of us are homeless. The people that come here from other countries get houses and are taken care of. They're accommodated. Why are so many of my people dying on the streets? This is our country, and yet we're homeless. You know what pisses me off about immigration? They're all here thriving while my people are homeless on the street. And we have an Indigenous premier. You know what?
Facts or fiction? Is she talking facts?
There's some facts, but there's some fiction that I disagree with what she's saying.
Tell me.
When she said this is our country, I don't think this is a native country. This was a country formed by colonizers. It wasn't formed by natives. And natives didn't really believe in like land ownership. They thought, you know, all the earth was like, you know, part of the sacred kind of spiritual thing. You can't really own land. Whereas white people were like, God, we can own this land. So this country was never like their country. You know what I'm saying? It was maybe on their land, you can argue. But culturally and the systems, the infrastructure, the history is not it's not like orchestrated by them. It was orchestrated by white people, which is why they were discriminated against. After they stole it. After they just took it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and even before that, before Canada came and colonized, like they had tribal warfare and stuff. But I understand her frustration. Because like there's a valid victimhood there because they've been systematically, you know, discriminated against.
Yeah.
But there's also like I wouldn't say cultural, but like behavioral things that we see in that community, which are patterns, you know, coming from trauma, coming from history, like alcoholism, drug abuse, low education, poverty. And you can blame both people. You can blame the natives themselves for it, or you could blame the government, or you could blame both. So I see your point, but this country was never founded for natives to thrive. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that like that's just the reality of it. It wasn't created for the native man. It was created for the white man and then whatever indentured labor that he wanted.
Yeah. I see what you're saying with that. Obviously, it doesn't make it right, but the plan wasn't there when these guys came and stole shit and gave them smallpox and all types of stuff. The plan wasn't there for them to now be part of the society and thrive with the society. You know what I'm saying? So she is right in the sense where they've been oppressed for so long and pushed to the side. And now they're looking and they're like, okay, what about us? We've been here the whole time. Yo, you remember us, the guys that you stole the land from? What do you mean? You're going to go give this guy a place who just got here before me?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, you know, you guys did us dirty, but can you bring us back up now that you did us dirty before you get to everybody else in the world? Like there's people from Ukraine who are getting quicker services and getting better, getting into homes quicker than an indigenous person who's been like here the whole time, who their ancestors have been here the whole time. So I do get what she's saying. Like, you guys got money for it. Bro, they pulled out a whole bunch of billions for Ukraine, bro. You're telling me that they can't solve the homeless problem here in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. It's just not a benefit to. It's not beneficial for Canada to try to develop the infrastructure of their native population because, like, they see it as a burden. but it's not. It's like it's kind of, and then the natives see it as something they're owed. You know what I'm saying? And Canada sees like, oh my god, like we'll give you free education, we'll give you this tax exemption, just like But Canada has notoriously broken so many treaties that they've made with the natives here. So, I'm not like defending Canada. I'm just stating the facts that like the country was established and created by quote unquote like Canadians. Because prior to that, there were several different like native tribes and stuff, and they coexisted. Sometimes they would beef each other. Like, there wasn't like a sovereign state. Like Canada established like the culture of like the government. You know what I'm saying? Like their own English laws and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's the country we live in. We didn't grow up in like with native culture here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't integrated. What they should have done, which is shoulda, coulda, woulda time. Like we're talking how many years later now at this point, right? And A says they had a communal approach to land ownership, which is true. But what Canada, if they wanted to do the right thing while coming here and exploring new land, the Europeans, when they're exploring new land and taking over shit, and also, we're not gonna. The slave trade is a whole other thing we can get into a wormhole of, but that's for that'll bring a whole nother podcast. But I'm saying when they came here and took the shit from everybody and started colonizing, maybe integrating them into the society, maybe saying, you know what, instead of killing all y'all mofos, let's work together. Like these guys just came and took over. Like they didn't even just slaughter them on some, let's just shoot you guys down. They literally gave them diseases, bro. And remember, these schools, the residential schools that now that we're doing that we're giving them a day or giving them a week or whatever, is because we're still finding grave sites at residential schools from like the early 2000s and shit.
Well, I just want to address AH, like if they had all this infrastructure and governance and stuff prior, like where's the evidence of it? And I'm not talking about like Mayan natives or like in America, like the Canada that we live in, the majority of the actual physical infrastructure was developed by white people and probably executed by immigrants. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like building the actual country. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying
Chinese,
they were like
the black people.
Yeah, I'm not saying they lived like nomads or like they were like uncivilized or whatever. I don't think that. Like I think they had rich cultures and like their own villages and communities, but it wasn't to the same level as like Canada as like a current like industrial nation,
Yeah, well, they weren't as developed as like Canada was just like open land, bro. And then these guys came down here and did what they did. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was living over here doing just peaceful, just living with the land. And then these guys came and yes, they built infrastructure, but at what cost to the people? You know what I'm
saying? But I just wanted to be clear, like this isn't like a unique thing to like I'd say like European colonization. Like throughout history, bro, people get invaded and colonized and friggin' like they get their village raided like constantly. We're living in like a very like safe time, and even now there's wars and stuff, but like bro, back in the day, like people could just pull up on your village, attack you, take you as a slave, take your women, kill the men, kill the babies, and this was like a regular part of life. So it's like colonization was that just like on like a larger scale, and there's obviously inhumane aspects, like a lot of inhumane aspects to it, but like I feel like there is that natural human tendency to like want to take over and expand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a weird double-edged sword because the benefits and things that we're living off of today, would we be living that way if colonization never happened?
No,
and like even me as a black man that I deal with my share of racism and oppression and stuff like that, but like in the end of the day I'm still free. I'm here live streaming, bro. I've been live streaming for almost 4 hours. That means I didn't go to a 9 to 5. Like I live a pretty good life. I don't live an oppressed life. You know what I'm saying? Would that be a thing if all of this didn't happen back in the days to bring us to where we are now?
Canada was meant for Europeans. That's why you see what you see before. I'm telling you, like every one of us benefits except the native man from Canada, which sucks.
Yes.
And I think that it should be changed, even though there are like individual benefits. That's almost like tokens, because like, yeah, bro, I can't imagine like, my land and my people being like torturously like robbed and taken and stripped of dignity and then lied to constantly. But I don't know, like, what's the solution, bro? They got to take it back in blood? Like, I don't know, bro.
He's going off. He said, "What's next? Blaming the Africans for the Atlantic slave trade?"
Yo, this is prime example of like victimhood, fam. Like, I never blamed the natives for friggin' getting colonized. They were robbed, tricked, and bamboozled for their land and rights. Yeah, they were. You know what I'm saying? That's an L. And I'm joking. But like, you got robbed and tricked, fam. It's just like, bro, like, I'm not hating on that, and I think it's wrong. But bro, at the end of the day, do you think this world is like a friendly world that everyone just gets along, bro? Humans have done wars for thousands of years, bro. So
we're still warring. We're still warring over territory.
Exactly.
We don't war for anything else but, you know what I'm saying, to be able to say I own a piece of this spot or I control whatever the natural resources over there. You know what I'm saying? Americans are doing it right now in Iraq and all different types of places. They're like, the only reason they're warring with these places is because they want something that they got.
And that's constant, bro. Every empire looks to expand because like once you're at a certain amount, you need more. You need like the reason why even colonization started was because they needed more resources and they didn't have any there. So they're like, okay, we got to go somewhere else and like take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it raw? Is it right or wrong? That's like, a debate. Like we can easily engage, but like, is that the natural part of reality that happened? Yeah, that did. You know what I'm saying?
It's a bad part of human nature.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Not the will to want more, because I don't think the will to want more is the bad thing, but the will to want more and then just go take it from somebody. You know what I'm saying?
By any means necessary.
Yeah, we're in a more civilized time, like you were saying before, where we have diplomatic community, for lack of a better term, where, we have treaties and all these different things with people and G7 summits where all kind of countries come together and have conversations. And we're not just taking shit from each other anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But once upon a time, that used to be a thing, and that was just an accepted way of life. Like, just keep your arms up, keep your army up, just in case a country comes and invades your shit and try to take your shit.
Yeah, or it's like, it's like kill or be killed. So it's like we either got to be expansionist or you got to be on the defense, and it's like, only the strong will survive. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sucks to say that. It's because, like, I'm not trying to say, like, one people are stronger, one people are weaker. I think just at the time, bro, like, the interaction between the Europeans and the natives was, like, a unique situation for both parties. And, like, the Europeans were lying. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were straight up lying to the native people's faces. The native people taught them how to do a lot of stuff, taught them how to survive on the land. You know what I'm saying? Like, taught them because like they didn't know what to hunt, blah blah blah, and then they turned their backs on them. So like that is evil. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not like condoning that. Who said it had to be that way though? Who said it had to be that way? I don't think anyone said it had to be that way. I think that's what naturally happened. Humans just did it. It's like no one said we had to like, have these urges for like, for example, like sexual urges or like hunger or like, natural tendencies of humans. These are just in us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think what you're saying, even just to expand on what you're saying a bit, I think humans also have a perpetuity for violence, and to get
100%.
that out of their system, there was not as many ways back in the days. So the way that we would resolve conflicts is with violence more quicker than now, because we have way more boundaries and a lot more, different things that we can say, you know what, we can have a conversation before we get to violence. And if we can't, now we're going to come bomb you. Remember, there's a bunch of people who got nukes and there ain't nobody using them.
Yeah. What's interesting, what you say about our tendency for war, that sports covers that human instinct for like competition and war. Yes. It like sublimates it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you substitute war for like a sports match, but then like now you have like England versus France as a soccer match. It's almost like it's just as intense as going to war without the consequences, you know?
Yes.
So,
and even if you want to take it another level, you can go become a fighter, go become a UFC fighter, go become a boxer, and you can get that other, if you have extra aggression that you can't get out of your system from being a football player or a basketball player, literally go punch somebody in the face for a living and get that out of your system. But don't become a soldier now and now go to war. You know what I'm saying? Because all of those people, without those outlets that we have now that are monetized on such a high level, they probably become soldiers.
Yeah. Yo, think about all these athletes today. They would be gladiators back in the day. They would be people who have to perform in front of the Coliseum by fighting like another gladiator or fighting a lion to the death. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I do agree. It's like some gladiator-ish. And to respond to AH, then don't be fake. If you strong-armed it and took it, then hold that. Don't front like you're good and just. I don't think anyone was fronting like Canada was good and just.
No, I don't think you were excusing anything that Canada.
I'm speaking matter-of-factly.
Yeah,
I'm not saying what they did was right. Yeah, this is what happened. And we, like me, my family, Friday, a lot of people that I know benefit from being in this country. You know what I'm saying? That's can't be denied. That's why I don't like when people try to like super fight for native rights, but it's like they're not willing to leave to their country and give their land to native people. You know what I'm saying? They're not willing to give up the comfort of Canada to like restore the original state. You know what I'm saying? It sounds nice in words, but then when it's like, okay, you leave this country then because you're on colonized land, you're on stolen land, you make money on stolen land. Then they start to say, oh, it's different. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, you're benefiting from it as well.
It's like a lot of people who immigrate here from other countries, they ain't trying to hear that shit because they're like, listen, bro, I just came out of my country, which was crazy, and I got to over here. I'm staying. Y'all ain't have figured out a way to live in your country yet, and we're getting over here and we're striving. It's the same kind of argument that Americans have with African Americans have with non-African Americans, the ones that they call feathers, like people who come from the Caribbean and Africa and different places like that. Like they'll say and they'll look down on African Americans, and that's not right. But they'll say, I came here from my country and I was able to pull up my bootstraps and get my shit together. What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? So like somebody who comes here from India or, somebody who's a refugee or something and now has a job or a house, they're like, listen, I was able to figure out how to get my shit together and get in a crib. What's wrong with you? You figure it out. You've been here the whole time. You've been here before even these white people got here. So I get it. It doesn't make it right. But I also understand the mentality of somebody who comes from another country. They're like, figure it out, bro.
Yeah, but they don't understand that like the trauma and like the cultural trauma that is included with that, like it's not that easy. Like I told you, I've said this before on podcasts, like I haven't met too many Native people in my life. Like I've maybe met maybe 10 or 15 in my entire life. And some of them are mixed, you know what I'm saying? Métis or half black or whatever. Yeah. And when I was in university, I only met like 2 that were doing the full free education. And one of them is a doctor now. You know what I'm saying? Like he went all the way. So, and a lot of people argue, oh, they get free, education, they get tax exemptions. What's their excuse? It's like, bro, you don't understand like the impact. The impact of the colonization is just still recent,
Yeah, and somebody mentioned before, and I think it might have been you, the mental health issues aspect, and not just only the mental health, like the body chemical makeup and stuff like that. Just the way that indigenous people, the way alcohol hits them in comparison to other races and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It does something different, and I don't quote me, I don't know exactly, but I know it does something different to their bodies where it's just like it's really destroyed them. You know what I'm saying? Mentally and physically, you can see it. Like in like the way that they're shaped and stuff like that, how like the alcohol has really messed them up. You know what I'm saying? And it might, like, alcohol can mess up anybody, but it feels like it hits them quicker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's certain races or ethnicities of people that don't have high alcohol tolerance, and some do. Like for example, like a lot of Asians, when they get that Asian blush when they drink, it's because like they don't produce an enzyme that has to do with like processing alcohol, so like they get Asian blush or whatever, like so. Like everyone's different at the end of the day,
and it's on all of that is DNA based. right? And DNA is something that gets traveled and passed down from generation to generation. Your DNA changes. You know what I'm saying? As people like different things happen in history. So like if at one point in history your culture was injected with a whole bunch of alcohol and your DNA makeup was one way before all of this alcohol came into the play, and now moving forward, all of this alcohol is in the DNA and being produced and passed on to the new generations of people that you produce because it's going to be in their blood and stuff like that. Like now it's going to make them have a lesser and lesser tolerance as more generations of native people are born. You know what I'm saying? Where now their propensity to alcohol, or their tolerance to alcohol, I mean, may be different because of their historic DNA, the history of their DNA and their history.
Exactly. Yeah, facts. And alcohol was introduced to them by, I believe, Europeans, or like the type of alcohol. But then they brought they introduced the whole world pretty much to tobacco. You know what I'm saying? And tobacco is like probably like one of the most consumed drugs now. And like that's what had like the white colonizers going crazy. Like they would go on these expeditions and they'd come back like addicted to nicotine. So they're like, we have to bring this to Europe, you know?
Yeah, go make some money. But listen, man, I salute to this lady right here. Thank you to what's the name here? iTerabyte. Thank you for the donation right there. Big thanks. I think we can wrap it up here, man.
We love hip hop.